So I just watched War of the Roses, which is not about the historical event War of the Roses, but about a fictional ugly divorce between a family, the Roses, which I assume to some of you might sound very familiar, because there is a new remake of it called The Roses that I am going to see today, but I wanted to see the original first, and now I have. I am curious to see how that's remade. The concept itself is very difficult to write because it's trying to be a comedy and almost a romance as well, while on the subject of divorce, which is not a very comedic subject and is very ugly and unpleasant and often can be very mean-spirited. And I was curious, knowing the premise going into the movie, seeing like, okay, how do you make that funny? Um, I don't know. I didn't find it very funny, mostly because it just felt so sad and depressing. And, watching this family just kind of be torn apart by resentment and ever escalating digs at each other and things like that. I don't find it particularly pleasant. But I'm sure other people can find it funny. As a story, there are certain things that I find interesting about it. So there's this framing device with Danny DeVito, this divorce lawyer, basically telling this nameless, practically faceless guy about the story of the family, the Roses, and that's kind of the framing device of him telling the story of how this marriage fell apart. Some of it works, like the whole thing with him giving up smoking and then taking up smoking again. That subplot I thought worked, and I found narratively satisfying seeing like why this guy took up smoking again. But the non-entity quality of the guy he's talking to makes it felt a little contrived because it felt like he's just talking to the audience because the guy is such a non-entity. He literally doesn't speak a word. He's just kind of there as almost like a scarecrow placed in front of Danny DeVito to explain what's happening. And I feel like if there was just a couple lines of dialogue from this guy, so it felt more like a dialogue and not just a monologue. The guy was so absent it almost felt like a soliloquy. I just wish that it felt a little more natural. I liked the characters, or I should say, I liked the actors. Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner are very charismatic actors and have a lot of chemistry with each other, which makes the kind of awfulness of the characters be a little muted. It's like they are terrible, but you like them more than you would otherwise if different actors were portraying it because I don't know, they work and the acting was very I thought was very solid. I like them in that role. The characters themselves, I mean, they don't make sense, which kind of works because people in a divorce never make sense. I mean, there's not a lot of logic that goes into that process sometimes and can be very petty and mean-spirited and brutal. But even before the divorce actually happened, I kind of love the beginning part because when they're explaining like how their relationship started and how it built up and the simmering resentment that's starting to appear in the wife felt very realistic, and that aspect felt very standard relationship troubles and miscommunication, and I liked that aspect because you could see real people in that. And then eventually the escalation kind of just felt so much. Just it kind of goes from 20% to 150% overnight. The wife kind of was like, just she kind of became insane, and you're like, what? I mean, I guess I don't know, maybe some people find that relatable, but she was just so awful so quickly, and he eventually matches her awfulness, but there forever is a imbalance in their rivalry, which made it feel less entertaining for me and just sad, because one of them loves the other significantly more still, and you can feel that throughout the movie. The level of hatred was not at the same level, so it didn't feel satisfying. They didn't feel like equal adversaries in a way, because there is this emotional difference in the way they're approaching it, and you can feel that. I didn't now I get what it's going for, and in some ways I think it achieved what it's going for. I just didn't enjoy it. It's not I don't find didn't find it a very fun movie to watch, despite it being like a comedy, and there's parts of it that are funny. The tone is just doesn't work for me. The tone is very strange, right? Because it's simultaneously trying to make this rivalry and this ever escalating stakes of these people trying to get this one house and their divorce. And I think there's parts of that that work very well, but it's just so mean-spirited and cruel and ugly that I don't know. I can't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. I see what some people can see in it. Like, I can see if that subtext didn't like emotionally bring you down, I can see it being just uproarious of these two people fighting it out and do and and being awful to one another. But I've never find people being awful to one another particularly funny, though I know of people who do, right? Prank shows exist for a reason, you know? So I can see its appeal for certain people. I don't know. It wasn't my cup of tea, but if it was, do tell me why in the comments. I always love the discussion and hearing what other people think. But I am interested to see the remake. I'm curious how they approach what I think is a difficult writing conundrum, because that premise has an interesting inherent tone that you have to balance, and I am curious what they attempt to do with that. Well, but I'll tell you guys what I think when I watch that. If you want to be notified when that comes out, please subscribe. The new chapter of Bonesong is out. For those of you that don't know, that is my book. I release chapters for free twice a week. Start reading Bonesong, Diary of a Sentient Sword for free in the link below. Thank you guys. Happy reading. Take care.